Part 68. Back to the 60s, The Struggle Career of a Charmed Wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 671. A letter from the leader? The leader still praises me. Wang Zhenqiu seemed to be in a dream, drifting in and out, and his feet were a little weak. I went home and lay down. I must have been dreaming and haven't woken up yet. Several government officials chuckled, and Cheng Baoqiu pinched his arm and asked, "Does it hurt?" "It hurts," Wang Zhenqiu nodded, grinning in pain. "Although it is autumn, the weather is not too cold." In order to work, he is now wearing an undershirt and has two bare arms. "If it hurts, you know it's not a dream," Cheng Baoqiu raised his eyebrows. Although Wang Zhenqiu guarded the Wanglu brigade and did not go up, this is where he can speak, and there are no intrigues or dangers above. Now he has been praised by the leader. As long as he does his job in a down-to-earth manner, no one will dare to touch him in this life. Wang Zhenqiu finally came to his senses and hurriedly asked Lu's father, "Brother Lu, you didn't coax me, did you? The leader really praised me? Aren't Zibao and Xiaoxiu by Jiang's side? Why did they go to the capital again? How did I get received by the leader? I remember receiving letters and things from Xiaoxiu in the summer. She was still in the border guard force and was going to give Zibao a younger brother or younger sister by the end of the year." Father Lu smiled calmly. "Here is the letter from the leader. Why should I coax you? Didn't I tell you about Xiaoxiu last month? Have you forgotten? Ajiang wrote a letter saying that Xiaoxiu went to the capital to do something. Went for a medical exchange, and Zibao took him with him when he was young. Later, Xiaoxiu sent a letter back from the capital, and also sent a lot of delicious food to Xiaoun and your Wang Qiao. Feng Qingxiu has never forgotten the elderly and children at home. As long as conditions permit, she will definitely send letters and things to her home. The capital is much more convenient than the border defense force, but she did not send money because she left her bank book at home with Lu when she went to visit relatives." "Father, I think about it, look at my brain, Xiaoxiu has achieved first-class merit." Wang Zhenqiu was so surprised that he couldn't find the southeast, northwest, and northwest. Cheng Baoqiu directly ignored Wang Zhenqiu and said, "Comrade Lu, what else did the leader say in the letter? Are there any other instructions?" "The leader did not give any instructions, but cordially asked about my old age and family situation, and told me that if I encounter difficulties in the future, I can write to him directly." Cheng Baoqiu heard this and immediately said, "The leader has issued instructions to the government departments, let us ensure that you enjoy your retirement." As soon as these words were revealed, Wang Zhenqiu's heart dropped with a bang. From now on, you no longer have to worry about all kinds of unfair treatment caused by Father Lu's bad ingredients. When Cheng Baoqiu asked Lu's father what he wanted, Lu's father said repeatedly, "Thank you, thank you, thank you leaders for your concern and comrades' concern. Everything is fine with me and I don't have any requirements." Cheng Baoqiu knew what Lu's father was like, so he turned to Wang Zhenqiu and said, "Comrade Wang Zhenqiu, even if Comrade Lu has no request, we must always pay attention. Once Comrade Lu encounters difficulties in life, if your brigade cannot solve them, we will directly go to the city to find me, and we will try our best to help Comrade Lu solve the problem so that he will not be troubled by life in his later years." Wang Zhenqiu said sternly, Yes, Comrade Cheng Baoqiu, please rest assured that our fellow villagers in the Wanglu brigade will not mistreat Comrade Lu, a good comrade who is dedicated to the country, in all aspects." Other cadres at all levels who came with him expressed their greetings to Lu's father and promised to resolutely abide by the leader's instructions and so on. "Let Comrade Lu Ziwen move out of the cowshed first. Leaders say that Comrade Lu Ziwen is one of the country's meritorious officials. We cannot allow the hero to live in the cowshed all the time." Back to the 60s, The Struggle Career of a Charmed Wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 672. It was Secretary Huang who spoke with a very serious attitude, which was unanimously recognized by everyone. Before Chen Baoqiu and Wang Zhenqiu could speak, Father Lu politely declined, "Isn't that where we live? I think the cowshed is very good. After living together for so many years, I have already developed feelings for those animals. I can't bear to leave. I don't want to leave the cowshed instead, I am at a loss. I know that all the comrades are thinking of me, and I am very grateful, but I am used to my current life and do not want to make changes because of a letter from the leader and let everyone think that I am too proud." Out of the bullpen? Just kidding, there are a lot of Lu family's belongings down there. Secretary Huang said awkwardly, "It's not a big deal for you to live in a cowshed all the time. What's wrong? The more you accept praise from leaders, the less you can make any changes. Otherwise, how can leaders praise others? If you rely on leaders' praise to improve your living standards, isn't that a mess?" Father Lu smiled slightly. "Our team secretary and team leader are very kind. As long as you work hard, there will be no unfair treatment." Chen Baoqiu knew that Father Lu must have deep intentions, so he said, okay, since Comrade Lu doesn't want to leave the cowshed, then we don't have to force him. These things are our thoughts. Comrade Lu must not refuse. They are some food stamps, cloth stamps, sugar stamps, egg stamps, etc. collected by cotters at all levels. Although they are more important than money, they are not money after all. Father Lu thanked them one by one, and finally sent them off with Wang Zhenqiu. After unloading the dried sweet potatoes from the car and loading them into the granary, Wang Zhenqiu and Father Lu drove back to the fields and continued their work. When others asked what happened, a large group of people came to see Lu's father. It had already spread to everyone. Wang Zhenqiu proudly told them the whole story loudly. The leaders all praised our brigade's living standard in their letters. "Keep up the good work," this was the content of the letter that Father Lu told him after Chen Baoqiu and others left. As soon as the words were said, all the villagers who heard it were excited, their faces were excited, and their whole bodies were trembling with excitement. "Did the leader praise us? Is this the leader I thought you were? Is it a letter written by the leader to Zibao's grandfather? No wonder so many government cotters came. I said before that Zibao was in the capital. Did he go to Tiananmen? I never heard that they met the leader. Brother Lu, you are really good at hiding it from us. You two are really good at twisting things. We thought they would be enough to go to the capital. He's so famous, how could he even come to the leader? The leader must like Zibao very much, our Zibao is so fat. That little fat guy Zibao is lucky at first glance. We have to work hard, keep working hard, and strive to keep the leaders satisfied with us. Yes, let's work harder and let Brother Lu draw a picture of the scene of our work. Brother Lu, when you reply to the leader, you must tell the leader the scene and joy of our bumper harvest this year. Our Wanglu team has another good harvest this year. Don't tell us about the heavy rain in the summer and some of the wheat sprouted in the ground. This is especially important. Although there was something wrong with the summer harvest this year. Some of the wheat in the fields did not have time to harvest and sprouted in the rain. But with the help of a large group of teachers and students, they still completed the summer harvest task as soon as possible without affecting their subsequent lives. After all the chatter, everyone became more and more passionate about it. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Back to the 60s, The Struggle Career of a Charmed Wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 673. The autumn harvest is at the final stage. The wheat has been planted in the ground, leaving only these dried sweet potatoes in the ground to dry. When Lu's father continued to drive the mule cart to transport the dried sweet potatoes to the granary, Lu Tianjun came over and helped push the cart while saying, "Grandpa, Is what my uncle said true? The leader wrote a letter to greet you. After he asked himself, he replied, it must be true, who dares to lie about this? Of course it's true. If it's false, can all the cotters and comrades in the city come here without landing? The slightly depressed look on Father Lu's eyebrows disappeared. Tianjun, I finally don't have to worry about our family having problems with the composition. The crisis is over, and you and your brother can finally walk on the road with your chest held high and your head raised. Your aunt brought all this. Just because Lu Zhang had been living in the army for many years, his family would never have had this opportunity. No policy can compare to the leader's personal instructions. They had received Feng Qingxiu's letter from the capital before. Both of them were happy for Feng Qingxiu and Zibao, because Zibao mother and son were received by the leaders and got along very happily. The most important thing was that Feng Qingxiu was in the letter. She told Father Lu that her mother and son had met Wang Xinchen, and the leader also asked her about Father Lu, although all of this was an opportunity given to them by Wang Xinchen. Lu Tianjun had read the letter, so he was not surprised that Feng Qingxiu and her son appeared in front of the leader. He was only surprised by the letter and the remittance from the leader to Lu's father. When Father Lu received Feng Qingxiu's letter, he told him that he didn't know what the follow-up would be, but now the follow-up is coming. Sure enough, after the leader learned about Lu's father's current situation from Feng Qingxiu, he did not remain indifferent. After returning home in the evening, Lu Tianjun held the letter from the leader to Lu's father like a baby. Guancheng came closer and took a look at it before he said in surprise, Grandpa, the leader praised Zibao. Hurry and get Zibao be like a flower. Father Lu didn't mention it in front of others, for fear that others would be jealous of Zibao, but that didn't mean that the old leader didn't praise their family tradition and upbringing. Father Lu was also smiling. Yes, Zibao is our family's little lucky star just like his mother. Didn't your aunt's letter talk about Zibao's behavior in front of the leader? This kid was actually in the leader's house. He peed, slept on the leader's bed, and even broke rose flowers from the leader's house and gave them to others. It's really his fault. Under the urging of fellow villagers, Lu's father quickly wrote a reply to the leader and prepared gifts for the leader. It was his idea to select 16 golden corn cobs, 16 gins of plump wheat and 16 gins of rice, 16 gins of snow-white cotton, and 16 gins of plump-shelled peanuts from the entire Wanglu brigade. 16 pounds of round soybeans, 16 pounds of bright red dried chili peppers, 16 pounds of various dried vegetables, 16 pounds of sunflower seeds and 16 large fresh sweet potatoes without any damage. Every gift was full of the hard work of the fellow villagers. He had to deepen the impression of the Wanglu brigade in the minds of the leaders. The number 16 is used because this year is the 15th anniversary of the founding of the People's Republic of China, and it will be the 16th year after October 1st. Father Lu understands the thoughts of those in power. Who doesn't want to see a prosperous and peaceful time? In an era when the country's economy is in dire straits and food supplies are insufficient, these grains, which can show the living standards of the Wanglu brigade, are the best gifts. At the same time, he returned the remittance of 300 yuan. Please give me your votes. Please send me all the monthly recommended tickets. Thank you for your continued rewards. 3. Epsilon. Back to the 60s, the struggle career of a charmed wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 674. At the beginning of November, the old leader received a letter, a pile of gifts, and a remittance that was returned untouched. The old leader looked over it quietly and asked the guards to find Wang Xinchen. Old leader, what do you want to see me for? Are you in such a hurry? Wang Xinchen had just come back from outside. Before he could take a breather, he saw Xiao Wang, the guard next to the old leader, so he had to lead Zibao over. Zibao jumped up and down and greeted everyone he met along the way. He was so cute that he wanted to ask people to hide him in his home. The old leader was stunned when he saw Zibao. Have you brought Zibao here? Yes, Wang Xinchen laughed. Xiaoxiu's work was successfully completed last month, and she should have returned to the army immediately. However, she felt that her delivery was approaching, so she sent a telegram to the army requesting to delay her return. Fortunately, this was the case. The child was born half a month premature, otherwise she would not have given birth to the child on the train according to the previous plan. The old leader was very happy to hear this. Have you given birth? A boy or a girl? When did it happen? Did it go well? No one told me. Sister, Zibao said loudly, smiling so hard that his eyes turned into crescent moons. He took out his fat hand from Wang Xinzhen's hand and drew a big circle with both hands in front of his eyes. Fat sister. Grandpa, fat sister. Wang Xinzhen also nodded and said, it's Lu Tianhui, he was born weighing 8 pounds and 2 ounces. Oh, you are really a daughter of a daughter. It weighs as much as a daughter of gold, the net weight is 8 pounds and 2 taels, which is simply unheard of. Yes, you are just a daughter. Fortunately, she was born very smoothly, and she was born on the day when you hosted a banquet for the workers and peasants on your birthday. Her nickname is Fuebao. I gave it to you. You have a big name, so you have to give up the opportunity to give it a nickname. Give it to me. Wang Xinzhen's eyebrows were smiling. From the day the child was born, I asked Comrade Guoyan to stay in Xiaoxiu's dormitory to take care of the two of them. Xiaoxiu has worked hard for so long, and she can't let her have no one to take care of her during confinement. So I'm going to take Zibao over to live with me for a few days. Zibao continued, sister, little baby. The old leader heard this and teased him, then what is your name? Big baby, Zibao pointed to his nose, sister, little baby, the baby is a big baby. The old leader and Wang Xinzhen laughed happily. Come and take a look at these things. The old leader remembered the purpose of asking Wang Xinzhen. What should I say? Comrade Lu Ziwen kept the letter, but the money was returned to me. The letter said that his son and daughter-in-law were very filial. I have never been short of living expenses, and I have nothing to ask for the rest of my life, but my life is definitely not as rich as his. The gift was prepared by all the fellow villagers in his Wanglu brigade. He has used the living expenses left by his son and daughter-in-law to give it to him at the market price. Collectively, please don't stop sending money to them because of regrets. They all have a sincere heart, old leader. The person Wang Xinzhen admires the most is Lu's father, and he has long expected that Lu's father would not accept the old leader's money. Even if their home was confiscated many years ago, the Lu family would leave a way out. Now Lu Zhang and Feng Qingxiu's the salary is not low, how can I afford to support a family? Yes, it's all from a sincere heart. The old leader touched the gifts in front of him, and he could feel the joy of the harvest. Wang Xinzhen pointed at the sweet potatoes and laughed and said, the sweet potatoes from my hometown. When I was a child, it was all thanks to the high yield of sweet potatoes to feed the folks in my hometown. It tastes very fragrant when roasted in the fire, and the rice is also very sweet. See you now. I feel so warm when I see it. Back to the 60s, the struggle career of a charmed wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 675. Zibao ran over and touched the big sweet potato. He lay on it and was about to open his mouth to nibble, but Wang Xinzhen held him back. Grandpa, Zibao pointed to the big sweet potato with dark red skin. Wang Xinzhen said, this is not Grandpa, this is the big sweet potato sent by your grandpa. Grandpa, Zibao insisted. It's not Grandpa, it's sweet potato. Sweet, Grandpa, Zibao drew an arc in front of him again, duo. Big car. The old leader probably understood what Zibao meant, and touched the top of his head. Yes, these are the big sweet potatoes your grandpa planted. You grew a lot of sweet potatoes in your hometown, and they brought them home one by one so that everyone could fill them full belly. Yeah, Zibao nodded, not wanting to argue with Wang Xinchen about whether it was sweet potato or grandpa. You guys stay here for lunch. Let's eat boiled sweet potatoes. It's not easy to roast such a big sweet potato. The old leader directly called Secretary Tang, make a pot of sweet potato rice, stir-fry a plate of peanuts, and stir-fry a plate of soybeans, and the rest will be prepared according to the usual menu. Then go and invite the comrades who are at home today, and let them taste the fruits of the Wanglu Brigade's harvest. As soon as he heard that there were fried soybeans, Lu Shui came faster than anyone else. As soon as he entered the door, he saw a little fat boy squatting under the roots of a flower tree, with his two fat hands on his knees, his attitude steady and serious. Hey, when did the old leader's family have a fat kid? Lu Shui looked curious, and he didn't recognize him at all. Lan Tianming, who was standing next to little Zibao with toilet paper in his hand and waiting to wipe his butt, was about to answer Lu Shui's question. Zibao suddenly raised his head and shouted to him, "Baby, big baby." Lu Shui scratched his chin, "Big baby? The old leader's big baby. From the Lu family. Lu Dabao," Lu Shui teased him, "you are Dabao, but you can't compare to Chen Xiaobao." When Zibao heard Chen Xiaobao's name, he said, "Brother." Lu Shui immediately knew that he was no longer an ordinary child. How many ordinary children could squat in the old leader's yard and defecate? And after he finished defecating, he let out a long breath, grabbed his ankles and moved forward, away from the poop behind him, and then pushed his butt in front of Lan Tianming, asking Lan Tianming to wipe his butt, and not forgetting to say something after wiping. "Thank you, that's very polite." The old leader said in the room, "Zibao, have you finished fertilizing my flowers? Come in and play with Grandpa when you are done." "Grandpa," Zibao laughed and rushed in. Lu Shui followed closely and asked, "Old chief, oh, the new students are here too. Whose child is this? He looks really lucky." "It's from the Lu family," Zibao repeated, standing on tiptoes to look at the cigarette held between the old leader's fingers, pointing to the sparks on the cigarette butt. "It's fire. Grandpa, it's fire." When the old leader saw Zibao coming in, he put out his cigarette and while dealing with Zibao's childish words, he asked Lu Shui to sit down. "This is Lu Zibao and Lu Tianmao. His parents are soldiers and have achieved first-class merit. They are temporarily living in Xinzhen's home. The food we are treating you to eat today was all grown with hard work by his grandfather and fellow villagers." Speaking of his grandfather, Lao Lu, you must know, I remember you wrote more than 1 or 2 eas to his grandfather. Who? Lu Shui couldn't even remember how many eas he had written. Lu Ziwen. Lu Shui thought for a long time, then finally patted his head, pointed at Zibao and said, "Isn't Lu Dabao my little creditor? Update a little first, then update again when you come back." You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Back to the 60s, The Struggle Career of a Charmed Wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 676. The little creditor turned his head to look at him. His mouth was full of food, his cheeks were bulging like white-faced steamed buns, and his eyes were moving round and round. They were dark at 2 o'clock and very flexible. When he saw him staring at him with burning eyes, he put his little hands in his hands with a look of reluctance. Reaching over, Lu Shui lowered his head and saw a white pear that looked like a dog chewing, with Zibao's imprint all over it. A piece of skin fell off on the left and a piece on the right. Zibao swallowed the pear meat in his mouth and looked at Lu Shui eagerly. "Don't want to eat? If he doesn't want to eat, he will take it back." His big eyes blinked and his little hands quickly retracted. For fear of Lu Shui regretting it, he turned his head back and said specifically to the old leader, "Grandpa, don't eat it. Baby, eat it. It's not that he doesn't give it. Well, if Grandpa Lu doesn't want to eat it, you can eat it yourself. Zibao buried his head and continued to nibble, causing juice to splash everywhere on his bib. Lu Shui looked amused. De Ma Jin Dao sat opposite him. Hey, little fat man, is it delicious? That's not a good word for a little fat man. Zibao, who was sitting on the small bench, turned around very quickly, turned his back to him, and ignored him. The old leader and Wang Xinchen laughed. When Lu Shui asked about Lu Ziwen, the old leader told him all the causes and consequences, and showed Lu Ziwen's reply to him and the cotters who arrived one after another to read it carefully. Their first impression was that it was a good word. It flows smoothly, and every word is full of sincerity. Yes, a good calligraphy, the words are just like the person, clear and generous, and open-minded, the old chief said. If we really follow the old leader's wishes, our country owes Comrade Lu a lot. After many years of war, it is not easy to find a creditor. Lu Shui was more anxious. Are the soybeans ready? It's fried. Secretary Tang brought the hot fried soybeans, and other staff members brought the fried peanuts and rice one by one, placed them on the table, and invited everyone to take a seat. The staff taking photos stood in the corner and specially took photos of them. This was the intention of the propaganda department. Before putting down his chopsticks, the old leader sighed, I only wish there would be no hunger or despair in the prosperous age. Yes, I hope there will be no hunger or despair in the prosperous age, everyone agreed with a very loud voice. Lu Shui raised his glass and clinked it with General Su. Come on, let's have a drink together, and you can try the Maotai I brought. Okay. When he mentioned wine, General Su's eyes lit up and he clinked his glasses with Lu Shui. Zibao stood at the table and saw several people clinking glasses. His little chubby hand suddenly picked up the wine glass in front of him. The wine glass was filled with sugar water. He raised it and touched the bottom of the old leader's glass. He said awkwardly, Here, let's, brothers, have a drink. Everyone was stunned and burst into laughter. The old leader also laughed loudly. What a good boy, I have lowered my grandpa's level to the same level as you. Come on, grandpa will give you this face, let's have a drink. Sure enough, he clinked the Zibao cup seriously, not because of Zibao at all. I feel angry because of the children's words. The camera staff successfully captured the scene in front of them. Lu Shui said, come on, take a picture of me and Lu Dabao too. As he spoke, the cup clinked with Zibao's. With Zibao around, the whole hall was filled with laughter and everyone couldn't help teasing him. As a result, Wang Xinchen felt that he was particularly popular recently. Some people either came to his home as a guest or invited him to his home for dinner. However, they would all be there when inviting, don't forget to bring your Zibao. Back to the 60s, the struggle career of a charmed wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 677. After just 3 days like this, Zibao was not happy. Mom. Find my sister, he expressed his opinion bravely. While Wang Xinchen was working at his desk, he was distracted and looked down at Zibao, who was slightly smaller than the desk. Zibao, Grandpa doesn't have time to send you there now. How about waiting for a while? I will take you to find your mother and sister after Grandpa gets off work. Looking for my sister, Zibao bumped his fists together, fat sister. Okay, let's find my sister, Wang Xinchen nodded. Let's go, Zibao tugged on his sleeves, in a manner similar to Wang Xinchen's dragging him away if he refused. Wang Xinchen patted his head and said, Zibao, Grandpa said, wait for Grandpa for a while, can you go to bed first? Okay. Hurry, Zibao rolled onto the bed, lying on the bed with his chin in his hands and looking at Wang Xinchen. It was not until Wang Xinchen's work came to an end that he quickly slid off the bed. Wang Xinchen shook his head, held his little hand, and went out with the supplies sent by his neighbors. Feng Qingxiu came here to impart medical knowledge. She was still living in the army when she gave birth. The child born in the military hospital was usually taken care of by the surrounding medical soldiers. You help me, I help, clothes, swaddling and diapers for the child. The milk powder was all collected by everyone. Whether it was new or old, it was all clean and she didn't have to worry about it at all. In fact, Feng Qingxiu did not expect to be delayed in the capital for so long. According to her idea, she could stay in the capital for at most a month and then go back to wait for the baby safely. She didn't have time to prepare many things for the baby, which was also the reason why it was really inconvenient to carry. As a result, when Lu Tianhui was born, most of the things were prepared temporarily. Fu Bao, blessing is not as good as 11 Bao. When I was pregnant, I was busy all the time, and when I gave birth, I was so hasty that I couldn't take out many things from the space. Feng Qingxiu could not help but feel a little guilty for Fu Bao. She touched Fu Bao's cheeks, which were still red and wrinkled, with her fingers. The tentacles were soft and tender, and her face was bigger than when 11 Bao was born. 8 pounds and 2 taels was enough for her to suffer. Congratulations, you gave birth to a big fat girl. To this day, Feng Qingxiu still remembers the midwife's words. At that time, she thought she was at most the same weight as Zibao, but it turned out that he was a full kilogram heavier than Zibao. 7 pounds and 2 ounces is already fat enough, and here comes 8 pounds and 2 ounces. At this time, Guo Yan came in with a big bowl of chicken soup noodles. Zioxiu, it's time to eat. Auntie, I'm sorry to trouble you now. Don't say polite words, we are not outsiders. Guo Yan put the bowl on the desk, waited for Feng Qingxiu to get out of bed, and handed her chopsticks. The weather is getting colder, eat it while it's hot, there's still half a pot left. Soup, and I'll make some noodles for you tonight. She has given birth to 6 children and is now an expert at taking care of mothers and children, keeping everything in order. Where did the chicken come from? Feng Qingxiu asked. Guo Yan pursed her lips and smiled. The supply department sent a chicken to Lu Shui's family, so your uncle brought Zibao to ask for it. Feng Qingxiu was very embarrassed. How can this be done? Madam, you have to tell me that there is no need to do that. I eat very well here and everyone takes good care of me. Everyone will give away some good things. When she came here, the old leader asked people to bring eggs, brown sugar, white flour and crucian carp, so that she could not be grateful to the people of this era and appreciate the simplicity and purity of this era. Back to the 60s, the struggle career of a charmed wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 678. After dinner, she thanked Guo Yan, and Feng Qingxiu begged her to find out if there was any house for rent outside. The current maternity leave is 56 days, and the Border Defense Force gave her starting from the day Fu Bao was born, which is October 26. Considering that Feng Qingxiu was in the capital, and the baby was too delicate and weak just after birth, it was really inconvenient for the mother and daughter to travel together with the 3 of them, Zibao Niang, so the army granted her another 20 days of family leave, excluding the round trip time spent on the road. At the same time, Wang Sanbao gave up his 1-month family leave to Feng Qingxiu, which was approved by the army. It is normal in the army for comrades to transfer family leave to each other, as long as there is no shortage of people in the position. There is no big war now. In addition to training, medical soldiers only study, and there are no major tasks. All of the above have been notified to each other via expedited telegram. Altogether, Feng Qingxiu could rest for a full 106 days, more than 3 months. Under such circumstances, she couldn't always live in the military dormitory with her children, right? It's just a place to live, but it's really inconvenient to eat. Although the military meals are sufficient, they are far less nutritious than the food in your own space. If he only relied on the food in the cafeteria, it would be impossible to raise a fat girl like Fu Bao. What's more, the current housing situation is very tight, and the dormitories of Fengqingxiu and Du Xiaotao were given by the military region's medical staff. Now, Du Xiaotao has returned to the army as required, and Fengqingxiu is even more embarrassed to occupy his dormitory. Although he will allocate a little money every month as housing rent, it can be ignored. Guo Yan was about to wash the dishes when she heard this and was startled. Why do you want to move outside? Is anyone gossiping? No, Fengqingxiu said hurriedly, I just don't want to continue to occupy the country's resources during these few months of vacation. I usually receive a lot of care from everyone, and I feel really sorry. I can't continue to take advantage of everyone, right? She is not that delicate. Now that Fu Bao has been born for 10 days, I have recovered well and can take care of myself and the baby. Guo Yan said sternly, if you don't take a good confinement period, you will suffer from the root of the disease. You suffered a lot when you gave birth to this fat girl. Why are you taking up national resources? It's not like you didn't pay the rent for the house and furniture. Of course Fengqingxiu doesn't care about the 2 yuan rent, she needs private space. Auntie, don't you think it's inconvenient for me to be here? Although everyone's attitude is very good, I can't take it for granted. Everyone's life is not easy. How can others give birth to children as well as I do now? Just do me a favor and find a house, and Fu Bao and I will move out. Wang Xinchen heard this from outside and asked if he could come in. After receiving permission, he led Zibao in. What kind of house should you rent? Since you feel that it is not convenient to live here, then move to your uncle and aunt's house for a while. Your uncle, me and your aunt welcome you and Zibao Fuebao. There are various staff arranged by the state at home. I can help take care of the children, and it will be easier for your aunt, right? Zibao, do you want to live with your grandparents, mother and sister? I think, Zibao replied in a low voice, then broke away from Wang Xinchen's hand, ran to the bed, lay on the edge of the bed and looked at the infant sister, little sister, fat sister, little baby. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Back to the 60s, the struggle career of a charmed wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 679. What Fengqingxiu wants is a free space where it is convenient to access the nutrients in the space. What is the difference between living in the army and living in Wang Xinchen's home? The latter is more heavily guarded than the former. Zibao is a child, young and ignorant, with a pure mind. Wang Xinchen just takes him in and out. The old leader liked Zibao very much, so everyone naturally gave him face. I am an adult, and I have no qualifications or reason to live in Wang Xinchen's house. Wang Xinchen has a high position, and there are big people who come and go in the house that I would never dare to think about. How should I deal with them when I meet them? The most important point is that it is normal for Wang Xinchen to like Zibao. It is because he met Zibao on the plane and he likes Zibao, and because he is a fellow countryman that he looks at him in a different light. Who outsider doesn't murmur in his heart when he takes care of himself like this? Although Father Lu should be able to avoid all kinds of difficulties in the future, what about Wang Xinchen? Crisis is still a sharp sword hanging over their family. It would be better to be more cautious and not say anything wrong than to use this as an excuse when someone attacks Wang Xinchen in the future. It can be said that he does not consider the safety of the leaders, that he is unscrupulous, etc. As long as someone wants to embarrass Wang Xinchen, there are a lot of excuses. Wang Xinchen and Guo Yan heard her explain the reasons in a low voice. The latter said thoughtfully, Xiaoxiu is thoughtful. Yes, although your uncle and I don't care, it's hard for others to say. Zibao usually relies on the old leader. Because of this, other children in the compound were jealous and said mean things, so I pretended not to hear them. Lao Wang, we are indeed not simple people coming and going here. it is inevitable that we will make irresponsible remarks. I'm too fond of Xiaoxiu Niang. It's not very convenient here, as Xiaoxiu said. Wang Xinchen sighed, when it comes to this, what can I say? I asked Xiaolan to inquire about it, rent a small courtyard with all kinds of furniture, clean it, and you three will move in and live there for a while. Feng Qingxiu thanked her again and again, and suddenly thought of something. Is it okay to live in someone else's house during the confinement period? She remembered that some landlords did not allow tenants to give birth to children in their own homes for confinement, thinking it was too bad luck. Guo Yan blinked. Why not? How can there be such things nowadays? I have never heard of it. When your uncle and I were at war, we were walking on the road all the time, renting other people's houses to give birth to children and confinement, and the 6 children were all born in different places. Even now, the house your uncle and I live in is owned by the state, and we still have to pay rent. Why do you have to pay rent, too? Feng Qingxiu was extremely surprised. That's not true. Including the use of furniture, your uncle and I are paying a few dozen yuan a month in rent. The old leader is 84 yuan a month. State property is not privately owned. Don't you have to live in a military house? Pay rent, outside government agencies, factories, etc., which cadre or worker lives in the allocated house without paying rent. Therefore, it is normal for Feng Qingxiu to rent a house. Lan Tianming quickly helped find a small courtyard. The country assigned it to an old comrade of Wang Xinchen. It was located in the back street of a palace in Haoerhe. The comrade had retired and had no family or children. He lived alone. When he learned that Lan Tianming, after looking around for vacant houses, he packed up his luggage and went to keep company with other lonely old comrades, leaving the small courtyard for Feng Qingxiu Niang and the others to stay temporarily. Wang Xinchen knew this and told Lan Tianming not to tell Feng Qingxiu. The rent was also paid by Wang Xinchen. Back to the 60s, the struggle career of a charmed wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 680. Fu Bao had just turned 15 days old. Feng Qingxiu took her and 11 Bao out of the army with the help of Lan Tianming and other guards. Since she was not yet out of confinement, Guo Yan also moved in. Fu Bao had been in her arms. Wang Xinchen's old comrade in arms has a complete set of belongings, so there is no need for them to buy them. There is a lot of briquettes in the kitchen. Not only that, before leaving, the old comrade said to Lan Tianming, the Chinese cabbage, radishes, and potatoes I bought for winter are piled up in the kitchen. You can ask your children to eat whatever they want and use the briquettes as they please. You're welcome. Why are you so nice to Feng Qingxiu and her son? Lan Tianming was young and didn't know, but Wang Xinchen and Guo Yan knew the reason. The old comrade's surname was Hong, and his name was Hong Zanjun. He joined the army with his younger brother at that time. The 2 brothers were injured on the battlefield. If they had been given first aid using current first aid techniques and sent to the rear, their lives could have been saved. However, there were not enough medical soldiers at that time. The first aid technique was not as good as it is now, and Hong Zanjun's injury was relatively serious. He received first aid first, but by the time he turned around to give first aid to his brother, it was already too late, so Hong Zanjun's brother died at such a young age. Feng Qingxiu's main task in coming to the capital was to teach relevant battlefield first aid techniques and some advanced medical knowledge. Even after Hong Zanjun retreated, he was still well informed and understood the matter very clearly, so he valued Feng Qingxiu particularly and believed that with a little progress in medicine, fewer comrades will be sacrificed on the battlefield in the future. This small courtyard is not big, with only 3 main rooms, a kitchen, and a toilet. There are no side rooms or side rooms. However, it was very close to the courtyard and it was easy to get back and forth, so at Feng Qingxiu's suggestion, Guo Yan stayed in the courtyard to take care of her and Fu Bao during the day, took 11 Bao away at night, and came back the next morning. Feng Qingxiu could finally replenish herself with space food with a sigh of relief, and she could also use diapers for Fu Bao at night. Guo Yan comes here every morning, and every time she helps wash diapers, she can't help but say, Fu Bao is so good. She only uses 1 or 2 diapers at night. It shows that she loves grandma. Feng Qingxiu laughed secretly until her stomach hurt. The 1 or 2 dirty diapers were given to Fu Bao after dinner or before getting up in the morning because she was afraid of arousing suspicion. Daddy, Zibao squatted beside the basin and pointed at the diaper. Guo Yan put it on the washboard to wash, and said with a smile, Yes, Daddy, it stinks. Does Zibao's poop stink? Smelly, Zibao held his nose with one hand and used the other hand as a small fan to fan his face. Guo Yan was about to praise him for his cuteness when he suddenly heard someone knocking on the door. Zibao stood up with a whoosh and opened the wooden door with a small chubby hand. He raised his face to see the person at the door clearly and yelled, Grandpa, Grandma. Guo Yan was stunned and stood up with soapy hands. Sure enough, she saw 2 old people about the same age as her husband. Next to them stood a woman in her 40s or 50s. You are. When you see Zibao, you know we have found the right one. A middle-aged woman came in carrying large and small bags and a basket, and said politely to Guo Yan, Hello, comrade, I am Zioxiu's aunt Wang Fengqiao, and this is my eldest brother Wang Zhenqiu with Zioxiu's husband Lu Ziwen. We rushed over immediately after receiving the telegram that Zioxiu had given birth, and we finally found a place. Yesterday, the editor specially reminded me what should not be written, so I immediately disrupted the original pace. It was a bit stuck. I will update a little first. I will continue to code. Please vote.